Hi guys, this is Mike, also known as the One Fig Man out on the internet. I'm here today at the farm where the mother trees of my Ciliegia Dolces came from. So this is the property. We're gonna have an interview a little bit later with one of the co-owners about the history, so we can hear it right directly from the horse's mouth about where these fig trees came from, and I can set the story straight. Originally I was told that the trees were about 100 years old. They were planted here. This used to be a huge farm. Then I found out later that actually the trees were planted in another place and brought over to this location about 4 or 5 years ago. So we're going to hear directly the story from them, where it comes from. I was originally told that this came from Rose, Italy, Costanza, Italy. I'm not very familiar with Italy. I've been there once many years ago, but obviously hearing it from someone who is Italian and has the ancestry, we'll hopefully get a lot more information. So I apologize for the sound here. I've been playing with microphones. I've been playing with the sound settings on my video recorder. Now we're stuck between a major highway and a busy road. So I'm trying to speak up a little bit to make sure that the sound records well. But let me talk a little bit about what I know about the Ciliegia Dolces. So these Ciliegia Dolces have been very cold hardy. For the past umpteen years that they've been here, at least from my understanding, 4, 5, maybe 6 years at this location, they've gone unprotected. A very little bit of care for them. There's a little bit of trimming done for them. The soil is great. They have a little farm here that I'll try to get a couple snippets of that. They're raising bees over here. But the soil is tested every year by a local university, and the soil seems to be well balanced and has a lot of everything. If anything, a little bit higher nitrogen content. But that being said, every year there's been very minimal, if any, dieback. Last year has been a horrific winter. We had some really cold days. It was frequently at freezing, at near zero temperatures. There were a couple of nights where we had -10, I think it was -15 on one night. And these trees had some real dieback. We were concerned that we lost the trees altogether. A terrible tragedy. It's a good thing that we have some other people that already have them out there in our fig world, that we can always replace them. But still, nevertheless, we want to preserve these mother trees. So what we found are these trees did have dieback. One came back right away, and from new shoots from the ground. And then all of a sudden we saw the two other ones starting to come back again. So I'm going to try to bring in a zoom in of the fig trees. We can see one of them over here. And then to my right, and then behind the camera is another fig tree, same varieties. So we're going to show you some other fig trees that are on his property. I brought over a red Libya that I wanted to test. It was a 1-year pot. We're going to try to protect that one this year. See the cold hardiness. I'll talk a little bit about that later. I also have a black mission that was a much bigger root system that I brought over. And he mentioned to me that there was a new fig tree that he got from someone that brought it from Italy many years ago. So we're gonna get more details on that video. So these are the figs that we have here. These are the Ciliegia Dolces we have here. So let me just show you some close-ups. These fig trees are looking great. I'm real excited about these fig trees. They just don't show any signs of F&V. They take a beating and keep coming back. The fruit has a little bit of a cherry flavor to it. That I guess that's why they call it Ciliegia. I think that means cherry in Italian, if I'm pronouncing that right. But the fruits are a little bit smaller here, up in between zone 6, zone 7, and normally the tree produces a lot of fruit that we're just constantly picking it. So what I really love about this tree, and what really drives it home for me, is the cold hardiness. I want to get mine into a 5-gallon pot, 8-gallon pot, even if I'm going to go crazy, maybe even a 10-gallon pot. Really pack in those roots into that, and to make a nice 5 to 10-gallon root ball, and then I'm just going to bury that root ball all the way down into the ground. Hope that the roots are protected from the soil, get a little bit of ground heat, and try to get a few of those nodes on the ground. So if there is dieback, I can have new shoots coming up from the protected parts that are underground to keep the tree coming back. But again, my hopes are if I could age my own personal tree by 2, 3, 4 years old and really get a nice big root system, then I won't need to do any type of protection. Come wintertime, I have enough trees that I need to bring in. I don't need another one. All right, guys, so let's get over to the fig trees. Let's get closer into the Ciliegia Dolces, and let's take a good close look at them. Okay, guys, so to give you kind of perspective, my opening video shot was taken where that camcorder, the stand is, the tripod is, and you can see there's one tree, and then to the very right of me is another tree, and then in between is the third one. This third one is has been a very, very heavy producer. They've all been pretty decent in producing. The one over here on the right has not been a heavy producer. Very, very few figs, but they're all the same variety. But these other two have just been great producers. When you've if you have received cuttings or a tree from me, it did come from the heavier producers. I do not take cuttings from this tree just because we don't see a lot of figs on it. Not sure if there's an issue with the variety, or rather with the soil, or with the specific tree itself. Maybe it's some variant, maybe there's just, and I to be honest with you guys, I really don't know why. Same variety from the same cuttings from the same tree, that 3 trees, 1 does not produce well, 2 are huge heavy producers. So these fig trees have been fantastic. There have been no signs of FMV in these. That's not to say that it's not infected, just because the mineral content of the soil is so great that these trees just don't show signs. I suspect that there could be, but again, don't know. But these are the trees. As I mentioned in my opening video, that there has been dieback for the first time that I'm aware of this year. It was severe dieback. There has been minimal dieback, but nothing extensive. You can see some of the old wood, but we don't see a lot of figs on it this year. Again, it's mid-August, and I suspect that's just because of the damage that was done over the winter. But that I think goes to testimony on how hardy these trees are and what kind of beating they could take. You can see some figs coming in now. Now normally I get figs probably at the end of July, beginning of August with these, and it just keeps going through to the first frost. So we do see some figs coming back on here. That's a great thing. But this year, it's a little bit of disappointment. I was gonna come over here and air layer a bunch of these off and take some cuttings for you guys, but it's such new green. I don't want to hurt the tree. And I honestly, my success rate on air layer fresh green has been miserable. I like to air layer on wood, something that has grown some protection on it and has lignified. And the lignification is definitely started towards the bottom here. But I don't want to take an air layer all the way down here, because what's going to happen is that root system has all this upper branch that it's got to support, and it just will not be enough on the roots. There just will not be enough support with the root system. But here's a great photo of the leaves. I was really hoping to do a taste testing for you guys here, but unfortunately, no can do this time. All right, so here we can see the extensive dieback that occurred, and I contribute to the growth rate, or the success rate of this tree, because of this massive root system. And the root system is deep underground from the years that's been here, and you can see it also coming up to the top. Now, I've spoken to the owner about burying it a little bit further. We want to cover all those roots and get some of those nodes underground. So if there is dieback, we have those new nodes to push up new shoots. Now, I keep mentioning the same thing. Get those nodes underground, because if there is dieback, you want some places for shoots to come out and your tree can come back. Alright guys, so before we speak to the owner, let's go take a look at some of the other trees and give you a heads up on what's going on with those. So, as an experiment, I brought over a black mission tree that was in a 6-gallon sip. Solid root system, about 2-3 years old. We went ahead and buried it pretty deep on this land. So we're going to see if this black mission will survive this cold hardiness up here. It's an experiment. I had a couple of black missions. This was put in just a couple months ago, so we'll see how she does. I also had some great success with a red Libya. The red Libya actually didn't go into full dormancy for me, and kept its leaves throughout the winter here. Now, I did keep it in my basement, and the cold temperature hardiness, or rather the cold temperature in my basement, was roughly about 40 degrees, 35 degrees, and again, didn't drop leaves. So I took a 1-gallon pot and I put it out here on the farm, She didn't grow as well as I would have liked before the winter, but we are mid-August. Hopefully she'll put on some growth and has a nice solid root system. We'll try to protect her a little bit because she's young, but this is going to be another test to see how the red Libya survives in the cold weather. So here we have the red Libya, and we have a black mission. Now, so guys, this is Eric. He's a co-owner of the farm over here, and he's been so gracious to share his figs with me. He just brought me to another fig that he just recently, I guess, put on his property. Eric, when did you get this fig?
Got this fig this spring, about middle May, and from a guy we'll call Lou the Barber.
Lou the Barber, great name.
Lou the Barber, who's got to be in his late 70s, and who raises figs as a hobby, not as much as Mike, but raises figs. So we always want white figs because they're tougher here, and so we bear this in a leaf pile to make sure that it got all the nutrients and make sure it gets water. So
where's Lou from?
Lou's from Sicily.
And how old is he?
He's got to be in his late 70s.
So he probably brought this over when he immigrated, or did he go over?
A cutting of this, sure. Well, every Italian has their own, stories on how the trees got here, and so
sure, their own family heirlooms.
So we'll have to, because they had their favorite trees over there. Figs are beloved. So
did he bring a cutting over in his older years and start trees?
Older years, yeah. When he went back once, he brought this over.
Okay, so this hasn't been here for like 50 years, 60 years. This is, well, your tree's only been here for this season, but
yep.
The mother tree is...
The mother tree he has, obviously. And so he takes cuttings from it, and, we barter vegetables for fig trees and stuff like that.
That's great. No real signs of FMV on this tree either.
No.
Looks like a nice healthy tree. You said it's a white fig?
Yep.
Great, well, we're gonna watch this tree and see how this does. And we could go ahead and try to get some cuttings when she gets bigger if the fruit is any good. And
yep.
Maybe we can get that distributed.
Sounds good.
You wanna go take a look at the Ciliegia Dolces?
Let's go.
All right. Okay, Eric, so what do we have here?
All right. These are fig trees. They've been here for 9 years. And we keep them short because I don't want people climbing around and falling off the ladders. And they came from the original Dolcetti homestead and from Rose, Calabria in Italy. And the grandfather of my 77-year-old friend brought them over because he loved these figs.
So about 100 years ago, yeah. He brought these over.
And so he kept them on his property. They grew and grew. And then when the back of his property got developed, his grandson and I dug them up because they loved all these figs. So you can see here, we have 3 plants here, 1, 2, and 3 in the back. And they like it here because they have, excellent source of water, and my soil. I see
a little river running back behind us.
And they have a excellent source of water, and my soil is hyped up with aged horse manure.
Aged horse manure. Okay.
Aged horse manure has to be
have you had the soil
10 years and older.
10 years and older aged horse manure.
Yeah.
That's pretty high quality, I guess.
No,
I don't know a lot about manure.
And I get it from a farm that is, people who have enough money that they don't care. So it's sort of like, they have vintage horse manure, if you can believe it. So they say, what age do you want? So I want the oldest stuff. And
okay.
They have a property that's maybe half an acre of they have 50 horses on the farm. About, I don't know, it's a quarter an acre of just manure. And they put the manure on different sites. They put it in 5-year sets.
They have aged piles of...
And you want aged horse manure so that it doesn't have grass seeds in it.
Okay.
Because otherwise you're going to have beautiful grass if you get the new stuff. Anyway.
So how have these trees been doing? Well, let's first talk about the soil. Have you had the soil tested?
Yeah. We go to State University to get it tested every year, make sure. I treat my soil with lots of grass clippings and leaf mulch and horse manure, and that's it. I don't do anything else because I believe in the organic stuff. I believe in doing it organically. And every fall, I send a couple of soil samples up to the State University to get tested and to see what I need, what I should do, shouldn't do. And they always come back and say, it's great soil, lots of organic property, obviously from the grass clippings and leaf mulch. So there's just
What about the phosphorus and potassium?
Beautiful, all right within levels.
Okay.
So you wouldn't, I always thought that I would have to do much more to do that, but they always say, hey, you don't need to add anything to the soil. As a matter of fact, they said it's almost too much organic. At this point in time, I should ease off on the organic stuff. But
yeah, I know that we don't have a lot of fig production this year. Previously, we've seen them with a lot of figs. So I was considering maybe that was because of a potassium and phosphorus deficiency,
right.
But it just might be because it's recovering from this winter.
Well, this winter was a tough one. We had a couple of cold snaps that got to near 0 Fahrenheit, and so and
by me, not too far away, I have a little outdoor tester, and I've read -15 some nights.
Wow. And so quite honestly, I don't think I did as great a job as I usually do mulching these. And so what happened is, of course, all of the branches froze, but the root ball, as you can tell, is excellent. There's still a lot of good stuff growing here. So
yeah, it's great that you came up with a lot of new branches.
Of new shoots. Yeah,
a lot of new shoots.
Yeah, a lot of new shoots. So that's good. And if there was any problem, I'd be having trouble. I have tomatoes around here. They'd be showing a lot of there's obviously a lot of nitrogen in the soil because they're very green. But you also see a lot of flowers there and things like that, which indicates that there's potassium in there. So that's why I don't have to. That's why I know.
Okay, so I had some information on the message boards I put out originally that it was a 100-year-old tree, and I thought it was planted here, but we definitely got an update on that. So now it's 2019. I would say that. So we've heard from one of the co-owners here that it was originally brought over 100 years ago, but it was relocated about 9 years ago onto this property. And again, it's doing great. I mean, the way it holds up to the cold, the root system, and it just keeps coming back. Not a lot of dieback except for this past year. Have you had dieback in previous years?
Yeah, I've had some. What I go out of my way is I don't want this to be over 8 or 9 feet, so people don't, reach up, get on ladders to pick fruit, and and as they reach, fall over or something like that and hurt themselves. So I specifically keep them. I usually trim it down to about 5 or 6 feet in November to make sure that everything is to make sure that those tall branches don't continue to grow taller, because they would. Okay, at its old site, it was got up to 15-20 feet.
Wow.
And
okay.
so it was like, no.
In the old site, was it growing like this in the bush form, or was it a solid tree?
It was a bush form. It was a bush form, and they actually started forming a line, okay, because the roots would come up from the soil, and as they broke the soil, another shoot would come up, and then another shoot, and another shoot. So he basically had, it began to create a wall, if you will.
Sure, a nice line of fig trees.
A nice line of fig trees, and so and for him that was great. He didn't care. I'm not going to do that. I prefer a bush like this of figs.
Yeah, so guys, you heard it directly from the co-owner's mouth, a little bit of the history of the Ciliegia Dolce. If you have more questions, please comment below, ask those questions, and we'll get them over to Eric and his partner Dan, who co-own these trees. So all right, so thank you very much for joining us. If you like the video, definitely subscribe below and ask those questions. Thanks for watching. Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye now.